last night, incredibly meaningful to the organization, to Pat, to Spo, all the players. You mentioned the video staff. For you personally, I don't want to call it like there's a redemption arc here, but some struggles this year, and just being on your game throughout these playoffs, each round. What did last night and that particular series sort of mean to you as you sort of have reflected today?
Yeah, I mean, just, face value, take out kind of the more recent struggles of my journey, if you will. Just the opportunity to be playing against the Celtics for a chance to go to the finals. Growing up in the area, all my friends I grew up with Celtics fans, growing up in Celtics country, growing up going to Celtics games, to be on that floor for an opportunity to advance to the finals. That alone, really, really special. And then, like you said, you tie in also just kind of what really the last calendar year has been for me, which is, there's been a lot of struggles personally, career-wise, basketball-wise, different forms of adversity, being in and out of the lineup, dealing with injuries really for the first time in my career, all these sorts of things, going through long stretches where, naturally, like, kind of doubt and you start to question, your ability, all this sort of stuff. And like you said, it was cool to go through this stretch against this team, and then ended on that floor, just with the recent history of everything. And not to say that I'm like on the other side of it, because if there's anything I've learned in my journey is that, adversity will always rear its head, and it's always going to be something different, and you got to learn how to wrestle with it. But definitely a special moment for sure. I had my family there and got to celebrate with them on the floor, which is pretty cool. So, huge moment, first and foremost for the organization and the team. And that's really what it's about too. Because as a group too, we went through a lot of adversity this year, a lot of struggles, a lot of moments where I think everybody, at least on the outside, was kind of wondering what's going on. And even internally, we had some struggles and some stuff we had to figure out. So pretty special to come out on top last night.
How cool has it been to see guys like Gabe and Caleb in particular, do this with you, knowing their journeys as well? I know the undrafted thing has kind of become a running joke at this point, but the reality is they've had their own crazy paths to get to the NBA, much less putting up games like that in a, game 7 in the Eastern Conference Finals. And so just you being as close as you are to them, seeing that, how special is it?
Yeah, I think the coolest thing, for me, like you said, being close to it is like, it doesn't really come as a surprise to me, because you see like how the sausage is made a little bit, if you will, in terms of like, you see what they put into it every single day. You see what they're capable of. You see the type of people that they are. For me, it's really cool because you finally get to see them get the notoriety and the recognition that they deserve and that they're worthy of. And that's like my favorite part of it. Just being teammates and friends of those guys is that, that they've earned it because you've seen it. And, that's just special. And, like you said, everybody, it doesn't matter if you're drafted, undrafted, whatever, like everybody has their own story, and there's all sorts of different pieces of adversity, and adversity comes in different forms. But, for those guys to be playing their best, and in the brightest, biggest moments of their young careers, was pretty cool to see. People are at this stage in the season, it's so much easier to just kind of be pure towards giving into the team, because everything else is just not really as important. It just becomes about like the bottom line of just trying to win. And I think that simplifies it a lot. And I think that when you look at who we are, I think we've always been capable of making this deep run. It was just a matter of if we were going to kind of be able to make it come together at the right time, which, obviously we've been able to do.
It's a great point that you just made about the simplification of winning in the playoffs, because I think for an Eric Spoelstra, right, the leader of the team, the voice from the bench, he's got a very cut and dry role. For a Jimmy Butler, Very cut and dry role for Bam, very cut and dry role. Obviously, Tyler's been hurt since game one. For probably everybody else on your team, your role has varied so much throughout the season. And so when you get to the playoffs, simplifying the bottom line allows you to accept a rotational change game to game or series to series. And I've had multiple coaches tell me this, like, hey, this is not your series or this is not your game tonight when you get to the playoffs. And it was fairly easy for me to understand that because the playoffs is just about one thing. It's like, can your team advance to the next round?
Yeah, and I think, I give a lot of credit to Spo in a sense because I think he really breaks it down to even more simple, which is like, how do we get this next game? And, just the way the season is, the regular season, it's unrealistic to do that. If you pull a guy from a rotation or if somebody, only plays 2 minutes in the second half, the immediate thought is from that player, all right, well, I'll take the abstract out. I'll speak to myself personally. When that happens to me during the year, as human beings, you start to speculate. You start to look, okay, well, what does this mean moving forward? How is this going to play out? Someone goes down with an injury. It's like, or maybe they miss a game. It's like, okay, well, now I'm playing and I play well. What does that mean moving forward? In the playoffs, it's just like, all right, how do we get this game? And like you said, game to game, it's going to look different. I think you saw that, really throughout the Boston series. I mean, we made lineup adjustments. We, changed rotations and did all sorts of stuff. And, sometimes certain guys get the short end of the stick. I've, of course, been one of those guys at times, and other times, I've had the opportunity to kind of run with some extra minutes. So I think at the end of each game, you just kind of have to compartmentalize it as like, all right, that game is over. It's going to require a different effort for this next game. Because when you're playing a good team, 5, 6, 7 times in a row, you're going to have to win games in different ways. It's not going to be the same people. It's not going to be the same rotations. It's going to look different. So that's one thing I give a lot of credit to our staff and our players. I mean, I think everyone just has had a really level head over, all right, I'm just fully bought into whatever it takes.